Humans are creatures of storyland. We live in stories. We're kind of aware of this. We know we watch a lot of TV, we know we watch a lot of films, we know we read books. But we spend a lot of time in storyland that we're not even aware of. And we're telling each other jokes. We're telling each other humorous stories. When we go to see a stand-up comedian, we're watching a virtuoso fiction performer. So jokes are stories, and songs are stories too. I'm going to tell you the story of my, a lot of you guys know this story, but I'll tell it for the people who don't. I think most of you guys haven't heard this story before. I'll tell you the story of how I got the idea for this book. I was driving down the road on a really beautiful fall day, enjoying myself in a good mood, and listening to music, spinning the FM dial, and a country music song comes on. And my normal response to this sort of catastrophe is to slap at the radio in a frantic effort to make the noise stop. But instead, for some reason, there was something particularly heartfelt in the singer's voice, so I listened. And the singer was telling a story. And the story was about a young man who's going to his sweetheart's house to ask for her hand in marriage. And the father makes the young man wait in the living room, where he sees pictures of the little girl on the walls. And there's pictures of her playing in the sprinkler, riding her first bike, dancing with her dad, and dressed up as Cinderella. And the young man realizes for the first time that he's here to take something from the father. He's here to steal Cinderella. That's the name of the song, is Chuck Wicks's Stealing Cinderella. And instantly I go from feeling good, having a nice day, to being blind with tears. I have to veer off the road to keep from dying. And to mourn the time, still at the time, more than 14 years away, when my own little girls would grow up and abandon me. It's coming. They're going to abandon me. And so I'm sitting alongside the road, I really lost it in a way that I haven't cried like this since I was 4, probably. I was bawling, I was drooling, choking, slobbering. It was a really gross performance. But part of me was also sort of on the outside looking in and saying, whoa, this is weird. How is this possible? How is it possible that me, a grown man, not a weeper, can be reduced to tears by the sort of music that I really don't even like, that I kind of despise? How is this possible? And we've all had similar experiences, I think, when a story has moved us profoundly. When we surrender ourselves to fiction, we allow ourselves to be invaded by the teller. And Chuck Wicks was there in my head, squatting there in the dark, milking my glands, kindling neurons. He was in control of me. And I wanted to write the book to try to explain something about what happened to me that day, try to understand it. And in so doing, to try to understand something more about the really vast and perplexing power of story in human life. When we're not consuming stories made up by other people, songs, novels, movies, whatever, we're oftentimes making up our own. So I did a lot of research on dreams. Dreams are really interesting. When our bodies go to sleep at night, they're exhausted, we're tired, and so we sleep. And what we would expect is that the brain would also shut down, the brain would take its rest. And why? Because the brain is the most energetically expensive organ we have. It's about a very small percentage of our body weight, but it expends about 20% of our energy. Instead of shutting down at night, instead of resting, it's working hard all night long. And what is it doing? It's making up stories. It's telling itself stories all night long. The novelist John Gardner calls a novel a vivid and continuous dream. That's what a novelist is trying to create in the reader's head, a vivid and continuous dream. But you can turn it around and make it the other way too, that a dream is a vivid and continuous story. Dream researchers define a dream as a vivid sensory motor hallucination within a narrative context. It's a night story. Dream researchers can't even escape from the vocabulary of English 101. It's really neat to read through these science papers and to see our vocabulary, English department vocabulary, sprinkled all the way through it. Character, plot, theme, point of view, and so on and so forth. We don't stop dreaming when we wake up. So a lot of neat science now. Daydreams are very hard to study scientifically because they're so interior, but they found ways to do it. And the basic take-home message is that daydreaming is the mind's default state. It is what the mind does when it doesn't have something else really important to do. So I'm not going to daydream now because I'm doing something important that's engaging all of my resources. You guys will probably do some daydreaming through the course of this talk. The best studies suggest we do about 8 hours of this per day. Okay? 1/3 of our lives on earth engage in daydreaming now. Religion. Open up the Bible. Open up the Quran. Open up any holy book that you like, and you'll be flipping through an anthology of stories. The fall, the flood, Sodom and Gomorrah, the crucifixion and resurrection of Christ, the archangel Gabriel grabbing Muhammad by the throat and telling him that man was created from a clot of blood. And it's not just true of the great monotheisms, of the big monotheistic religions. It's true of all religions. They're made out of stories. It doesn't have to be that way. Religions could have been made out of lists. They could have been made out of essays. They're not. Religions are built out of stories. To me, religion is the ultimate expression of stories' dominion over the human mind. Based upon what the sacred stories say, we regulate all of the practices of our lives, or believers do. We, how and if we're going to have sex, how and if we're going to eat, how we're going to forgive, and if we're going to forgive, when we're going to wage war in the name of everything holy. Neverland. Okay, so we've all passed through this phase of life. Children play at story by instinct. If you take small children, put them together in a room, give them no prodding, no coaching, no nothing, put them together in a room, what you will see is the spontaneous creation of story art. Like skilled improv performers, they're going to come up with a scenario, they're going to come up with roles, and they're going to act it out.